Hello everyone, welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're all doing good and well. So I'm really excited to be joined by Tom and Mayzie from Oceans for this next episode of the Shoegaze Files, because we're going to be talking about their debut album, their exciting new debut album called Dreamers in Dark Cities, which came out back on March 24th. And I've been really enjoying this one. So I've been really looking forward to chatting to you both about this new album. So how are you both doing at the moment in Melbourne, right? In Melbourne?
Yeah, good. We've just come off a plane from Christchurch at about what time did we land?
8 a.m.
8 a.m. Yeah, so kind of jet lagged as much as you can for the 2-hour time zone, but yeah, going well.
Yeah, you must be pretty tired, I guess, at the moment.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So how have things been then? Because obviously, as I understand it, this is your debut full-length album. I think you guys have done an EP before, right? Is that right?
Yeah, we started out with the first EP we recorded here in a local studio in Footscray, and then we teamed up with a UK band to do Wilt, which was our little lockdown project, and then yeah, onto our first full length. So we're really lucky we got to go in the studio and spend a lot of time with Lindsay Gravina, who's a really awesome producer, really helped us along the way, and yeah, super proud of what we come up with.
Yeah, it must be like quite exciting to have been working on this for a while and then to sort of have the end result and to see it be released to the wider world and everything. Have you found this whole experience of releasing a debut album, and how's that sort of felt? Has it been exciting, nerve-wracking?
Yeah, I mean, everything and above, really. It was it was so long in the process. It's by the time it comes out, years of writing, and then it took us about over a year to record it, just with all the, like I said, lockdowns and just wanting to be sort of perfectionists. Yeah, it was a really surreal thing to finally have it out, and I think once the vinyl came out and you sort of put our hands on it, like, okay, this is real, like this actually happened, like it's the long process had finally come to realization.
Oh yeah, I'd love to be able to do that, to have whatever work you've produced on vinyl and sort of hold it up and everything and be able to look at it. And yeah, so what sort of moving on a bit to inspirations, I guess, what sort of themes, because you mentioned lockdowns already, and I sort of may have guessed that the album, with its kind of feel and its moods and some of the lyrics, that this is kind of maybe inspired by some of those sorts of themes of like loneliness and isolation and that sort of thing, but correct me if I'm wrong on anything at all.
No, that's pretty much spot on, really. I mean, that it's so hard to draw inspiration when there's really not much around you, so I thought just lean into that a little bit and sort of explore those feelings, and I'd probably describe it as a bit of a dark album, a bit of a more somber feeling, but yeah, it really sort of like felt right, in the mood of the time. Hence the name, sort of, in the dark cities, the sort of lockdown, the oppressiveness. I really wanted to sort of capture that, lyrically at least.
Yeah, sort of dreamers in dark cities. I'll just share the album cover actually, so people that maybe come across the video and watching can see the sort of can see the album artwork as well. So I should have that up here. So let's go for that. So this is it, and I think, Mayzie, did you do the artwork for this album? Is that right?
Yeah. It's sort of a digital painting. So I think when we were about midway through last year, we were planning to go to Bali, and I ended up getting COVID in Sydney, so we had to drive back down to Melbourne. So anyway, we went out to this and stayed on this chicken farm. It's a bit of a tangent, but it comes back around. We went and stayed on this chicken farm for a week while I isolated from everybody and had COVID for the third time or something. And on the way back, we took some photos. Tom took some photos of me by this cow. I don't know, this paddock with cows in it. And I saw the pictures and it was just quite interesting. I was just like, I was thinking about the artwork at the time, and I was like, I had sort of ideas in mind, but I was going down a really different track, and I kind of just this kind of idea of it just all sort of felt quite right, because it was just very much in the same theme, you know, that isolation and that the desolation, and also just having a little bit of a personal connection with it was quite nice. You know?
I sort of imagine it's like little like spheres, like little bubbles of people, like, you know, a faded memory, like, you know, what do I remember my friends looking like? What do I, you know, have these vague memories that have sort of, you know, gone away, and that sort of is shown in the artwork, like that sort of degradation, that sort of, you know, memory of a memory, that sort of like a VCR that gets, you know, replayed so many times, it's sort of, you know, loses its fidelity, loses its, you know, its sharpness.
It's an interesting thing too when other people see things like in music, right? It's like, you know, what does someone else see in your work? Because for me, the whole idea of this artwork was actually about like, it was about ascension, you know, it's about how you can rise out of things that are really difficult and make really beautiful things. And the idea of them all looking upwards and the light coming from above is like, you know, to be going through like a very murky, confusing, unclear kind of journey, but you know that, you know, you just have this sort of blind faith that things are gonna be okay, and you can make real beauty out of things that are really difficult, you know. Yeah.
Some artists say artwork inspires them, and images and that sort of thing helps to create the music. So in this case, was it sounds like the artwork that came maybe after the music, did it, for this album? Did the music inspire the artwork in that sense? Was it that way round, or was it halfway through the album?
Probably more like the journey, to be honest. So Tom and I, we met through Oceans, and now we're married, which is very lovely.
Oh, congrats.
And all kind of happened through the COVID period. But I think, you know, I think that whole journey really plays into it all. You know, it's like the music becomes the journey becomes the art becomes the music again, and it's all very circular, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, interesting to learn about that, because yeah, I think you're right. The sort of you know, it's sort of abstract, with everybody like looking slightly differently and looking up, and sort of all sort of kind of spacey and odd and everything. I like how that fits with the music and the themes. I think it works really well. So yeah, well done on that. Well, a good job. So moving on then to I think some of the songs, because I want to talk about the songs, but before we get onto those, was there a sort of common starting point for the songwriting that you had? So for instance, did you start with lyrics, or did you start with a melody or a riff or something? So which way round did things happen? Was it like a jam session?
Yeah, well, it was kind of just, you know, in my bedroom at, you know, 12 o'clock, you know, 2 a.m. when these sort of, you know, songs came to fruition. So that, you know, usually just the whole idea, like, I like to sort of create a challenge, or sort of create like a framework to work around. And I really wanted to use the baritone guitar. I was really inspired by that particular instrument. So just starting with that, and you know, the various sort of, you know, chorus pedals and delays and reverbs, that sort of like inspired the sound. And then, you know, once I had something I liked, I'd sort of, you know, go from there. So yeah, like, as long as I could sort of, you know, make sense around the sound of the baritone, that sort of, you know, got this, you know, baritone, arpeggios, like that sort of thing. And then, you know, the sort of the mood would come from that, and then I try to fit lyrics into that for the most part. But
until I came along.
Until you come along, yeah, that's right. The lyrics are a bit of a collaborative process, so yeah, Mayzie is a much stronger lyricist, so yeah.
I think I came in and
calls me out on all my cliches, and
came into I think that's always been like real. I played in another shoegaze band, Batchy's Dream, which is another Melbourne kind of shoegaze project. So that was my old project, and like always, like for me, the vocals is like, I think my favorite shoegazing is like the one, you know, it's when you've got really good, strong songwriting underneath beautiful production. You know, I think if you can combine the two, you've got it. You know, and so I think, like for me, I just like come in and I'm like, well, you know, what are you saying here? Like, you know, what's happening here? Because I just really think that it's important to be really critical, even if you think, oh, the vocals don't matter. I mean, the vocals matter, the lyrics don't matter. It's not as important, you know, it's about creating a mood. But I think that's sort of my job in this, is to come in and say, well, actually, why not have both? Like, you know, what if we reframe this to just sort of really fit what you're trying to say with everything else that you're doing so incredibly? And I think that's what's beautiful about collaboration, right? Because you have strengths and weaknesses, and you can come in and make things interesting, you know.
Yeah, it was definitely a more
brutal process.
It was a totally different experience to what I've experienced in the past. It was really yes, just some really intense sort of recording sessions, and you know, going really long hours, and you know, like no auto tune, no you know, very few production techniques to sort of, you know, make the process a bit easier. So yeah, that combined with the sort of, you know, collaborative, you know, process made it really challenging, but, you know, good to sort of let go and sort of trust the people around you to make everything better, rather than you know, treating it like a solo artist and yeah, taking that all on yourself. So it was yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah, you've got, like, obviously yourselves, and you've got a few other band members as well, haven't you? Sort of got, you know, your bassist, drummer, a synth keyboardist. Can't think of the word for someone that plays synthesis. But yeah, I like all that. I think something that's happened well, obviously, because, you know, I've really enjoyed the album. I've said that already, and I think it sounds as though it's something that has been worked on quite hard. You can hear, like, I think that it sounds like there's a good chemistry going on, because the songs work pretty well. I mean, there are, like, I have some of my own favorites on the album as well. So moving on to that, what are your favorite songs from the album? If you and I'm going to make you both pick just one.
You want to start?
You start.
Well, my favorite's probably one that's a bit overlooked. I really enjoyed, probably the last song that I wrote for the album was "Look Into My Eyes," and that was a song that got recycled a lot. But I don't know what it is, but I think we've only played it live the one time. But I get the best, you know, emotional response out of that song.
Yeah.
It's just there was a moment where it sort of just clicked, and I felt like all the you know, the lyrics, the music, the rhythm just all fit in at the one time. But you know, probably ask anyone, they'll probably skip that song the most. So yeah, I might be alone there. And you?
I guess Soft. I have to say Soft, because it's the one that it's probably it was the most interesting combination of, you know, I think this was one that I came in and Tom had written, and I said, "No, this is shit. I'm going to rewrite it for you." And I think that it was very, like, but in a really interesting way. Like, I was like, the instrumentation on this is really, really good. I'm going to rewrite your vocals, and then we did it, and I think it turned out really. It just had that chemistry, because also, you know, it's so tense when you're recording. Sometimes that creates a lot of really beautiful things. I think this was one real success of our working together, because it was like, you know, it was something that, like, Tom was not really sure about either, and so to come in and be able to, like, work together really well to make something beautiful. And then we did the video for it, which was really, really, like, a really incredible experience. And I think, again, like, you know, like, it was quite, for me, it felt really like making art, those things, that video and that song, I think, you know. Yeah,
I really like both of those songs, and I think Soft is a great song, and one of my favorite parts, or, you know, my favorite parts of the album, I think, are some of those vocal harmonies that you put together, and that you both sound, when you both come in together, it sounds really great. I think there's a part in the song Soft where it changes to the line that starts falling back so far, I think it is. So you kind of, you know, really like that part of the song. I think it's a really, like, quite powerful part of the song with that change for me. When I'm listening to it, it's like when that bit comes in, I'm like, oh yeah, I just really feel like it's like a wave of the sea just kind of rolling over you. I really like that.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry,
I
get
a bit descriptive sometimes. That's
lovely.
Yeah, and it's nice to do an interview where someone's listened to the song. We're getting a lot out of this, trust me.
Yeah. I really like that song. And another one I like is one which has, like, some really lively bass guitar work in as well. I think it's Pure, which is you'll get your bass guitarist Josh, right? I like his bass playing's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, he's amazing. I think I sent him the most mistake-riddled, bass part, and he just, flew through it in like 2 takes. Is just, there's a massive difference between a guitar player playing bass and a proper bass player. So really lucky to have him on the record. He really made that shine.
Yeah.
That was a bit of fun. We like playing that live.
Yeah, and I like the flow of it as well. I think it's like some albums can just, I mean, some are deliberately like this, but you kind of get bogged down in melancholy and stuff. But I like the way this album sort of has a mixture of that with more liveliness at times, like with tracks like Pure. It just switches the pace up a little bit, because for me, I like that. I mean, some people love just depressing, but I like the way you sort of had those moments of bittersweetness coming in as well at times, like with Pure and stuff. But yeah, really great job. I really enjoyed it. So something else I noticed, because I had a nose around your YouTube channel and I couldn't help but notice you did a cover of the Go-Betweens, Bachelor Kisses, and this is one of my favorite bands, and I just do not find people that know Go-Betweens, not in the UK anyway. It's like, well, no, never heard of them, and so I just like to find people that are fans of Go-Betweens. I know they're Australians, so they've probably got like a much bigger following out there and stuff, but I love Go-Betweens. So I enjoyed that you did a cover of that. That was like,
Should do that again.
I love that song. That song's great. I really love it. It's really fun to sing.
Are you both Go-Betweens fans, or was it just a song you thought would suit the band?
Wasn't it Dwayne that picked that song?
Yeah, it was. That was kind of at the point where we're trying to discover like what our sound was going to be as a band, because I'd come in with all these demos and like, I think this is Oceans, and then having a band come in, we just started playing all these covers to sort of say, well, what sounds best? Like, do we play like, do we like slow dive? Do we like more, up tempo sort of stuff? And then, Dwayne recommended we try the Go-Betweens, and that's where the sort of vocal harmonies sort of, maybe our strengths came in to shine a bit more, and playing more like of a sort of down tempo song that sort of helped us on our journey towards, okay, like this works for us, like we're good at this. I think maybe like there's a big thing in Melbourne right now about playing really fast, really like hardcore, like punk rock sort of style thing, and I really enjoyed that. We could find our sound that was, we're going to take a bit slower, we're going to be a bit more deliberate with our sound, and sort of helped us come into our own a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I think you can sort of hear a bit of that influence in the album. You've got that kind of post-punk new wave era sound in the band a little bit, which is like a nice touch as well. Are there any sort of bands that you think have influenced you particularly? I mean, I guess it's an obvious question that gets asked a lot in these kind of interviews, but are there any sort of like, bands that really influence you above others?
It's kind of hard to nail down, because I think we kind of draw from like a bit of a broad range of influences, and trying to make sense of them in a shoegaze context. Definitely starting out like Boards of Canada, Tycho were sort of just that idea of making sounds that are, for me, when you listen to something like, oh, that's a guitar, like that's a bass, but like I get really excited when I can't tell what that is. Like it sort of trips your head out in a really weird way. So that was the kind of start of it, and then getting more into sort of like The Cure and more like sort of band sounds, then trying to how can we fit those pieces together? How can we get an ambient or an electronic vibe, but then also a rock band or a shoegaze sound, and putting that all together. And I think shoegaze is the perfect medium for that, because there's so much genre for experimentation, and there's so much acceptance of different sounds. It's not like it's not like a gatekeeping community. We're like, no, this is definitely shoegaze, this isn't shoegaze. I think there's a lot of acceptance that it can be like M83, like it can come from such a broad range of influences. So that's like a nice little playground to try find sound.
it does feel like I'm finding this at the moment when I'm discovering new bands like yourselves at the moment who, you know, I particularly enjoy shoegazy stuff and dream pop, and that sort of mood of stuff. And I've been finding, like, recently I've discovered like Hatchy, Flying Colours.
So good, eh? Hatchy.
Flying
Oh my
Colours.
God.
Yeah, and stuff like this. And then I've realised the common thing with all these bands is they're all from Australia. And
I think Hatchy is really interesting. It's like, I remember when that song came out, I was just obsessed. When Try and Sure, those first two singers, gosh, they were just like, it's like, man, because I'm a really big, massive Cocktail Twins fan, like Liz Fraser. I just think vocally is just so technically inspirational. And I just thought that was, and then Robin Guthrie remixed that Sure, the song Sure, and it's just, I was like, oh, this is just too much. Like, this is too good to be true, you know? Yeah. It's really very like
fan as well, Tom.
Pop, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
coming around.
I'm coming around to it, definitely.
Yeah. I only recently got into her stuff from her last album, I think. But what was it called? Giving the World Away. And really enjoyed that. So yeah. So looking ahead a bit then, after this debut album, what's in store for the band going forwards? I mean, have you got any gigs coming up? Have you got, like, I don't know, any other plans for new material? You know, is it too soon to say that?
No, not at all. We've probably got another 3 albums that we want to put out in the next couple of years.
3 albums? So, wow.
Yeah. That, you know, in that whole waiting cycle, you know, I just you know, couldn't help writing stuff, and probably, you know, having that collaboration with Mayzie, we've discovered quickly that we can write songs very effectively, playing to our strengths, where, you know, I might write a, you know, guitar part and then struggle over lyrics for, you know, weeks and months. Mayzie can do it really quickly. So hopefully we can put out a, we've written some songs together, really excited about. So we're recording that at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Slow. And I've got a few other, I want to experiment with a few other different styles. So you can probably expect a more heavy, you know, hardcore sort of shoegaze fusion, and maybe another sort of indie pop rock sort of sound after that. So yeah, whoever's watching this in the future and that never happened, probably call me a liar. Yeah, and then just some shows around Melbourne, and hoping to get up to do some regional shows and maybe some interstate, which would be exciting. So yeah, definitely keep your eyes peeled for some more Oceans releases.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I will be looking out for more material from you guys after this Dreamers in Dark Cities album for sure.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, just to say, obviously, you know, a big thanks for coming on to the channel, this little obscure corner of the YouTube rock and metal community, I guess this is, and just taking time to talk about this album. And I hope we convert some more people to the Oceans cause, to the band, and to listening out for more stuff as well. And yeah, I highly recommend to anybody watching to check out their new album and their YouTube channel and all things Oceans. I will put a link in the description box for when the video premieres, where you can go to download the album. Let me know, guys, are you selling it on vinyl? Is that right as well? Any other physical media, or is it just downloadable?
Yeah, so it's up on Bandcamp. You can get vinyl copies there through Shelf Life. They've been really good to print that. There's a separate page for like Australian orders and shipping from the US. So just keep an eye for that, whichever you know, postage rate is less for you. Yeah, and then digital, and potentially another cassette in the works for some B-sides. So
oh wow, cool
too.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a CD collector, but cassettes are kind of coming back a bit into fashion as well, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, 4 tracks and, you know, home recording. It's
yeah.
Oh.
It takes me back to when I had like a ghetto blaster and I used to buy cassettes and stuff and take ages to get back to the start of the album when you're rewinding. I'm maybe showing my age a touch there. Yeah, so thank you so much again for joining me, and really wish you all the best with all the work you do in the future. Really look forward to what you guys, whatever you put out, I'll be looking out for it. So everyone watching, don't forget to drop a sub to the channel if you like these kind of interviews, you want to watch more Shoegaze files and learn about more bands, whether from the metal, rock or indie spectrums, whatever your thing is, then click on the sub button. Otherwise, from me and from Tom and Mayzie from Oceans, till next time, bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.